got a chance to talk to talk show host Jerry Springer, who really put things in perspective.
How little respect do we have for our country that we honestly believe that we will turn over our country to a man that knows nothing about world affairs, how you deliver social services, and in his heart has never been about, I want to make lives better for other people. Everything he's accomplished has been for himself.
Well, now that the crazy has officially happened, I'd like to know what he thinks. We talked about this after that Access Hollywood came out. You, sir, said that it was just crazy that we'd turn over the government to such a person. And now at least 77,000 people across 3 states have decided to do just that. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I still think it's crazy. But I think what we're facing now is the reality that we've never in American history had a president who lost the election by as many as 3 million votes. In other words, he's going to win the Electoral College. I get that. But if you talk about what the American people wanted, by almost 3 million votes, people wanted Hillary. And that raises the whole question that even though technically it's legal that he gets to be president, it doesn't reflect what the people wanted. And I think he goes into his presidency with an asterisk next to his name, that this is a presidency that doesn't necessarily reflect the will of the people, but somehow he's got to legitimize it all. So when you have things like the Russian hacking, when you have any controversy that's going to come up now, for example, God forbid, terrorists go after his properties in other countries. Are we going to send American soldiers to defend, the Trump properties around the world? In other words, the whole question of everything he does now, people will wonder, is he really doing it because it's best for America, or is he doing it because he has financial interests in this? And now with the choosing of the Secretary of State, with his ties to Russia, what is going on here? And I think it's in Trump's interest to have an independent investigation of what the Russians have done to make sure that his presidency is, in fact, legitimate, that it wasn't, in this case, rigged by outside forces. That's on the burden's on him now.
And Jerry Springer, one of the things I think that concerns a lot of Americans is that the investigative authority, the people who would bring forth the intelligence on what Russia did and on if, for instance, there were any contacts with members of the Trump campaign. There are a lot of Russophiles in his camp. Sure. That would be the CIA, that would be other agencies, but it would be the FBI that would be the prosecutorial authority if anything were to be found to be untoward. But you also had the FBI director help Donald Trump get elected. That's one of the other asterisks on this election, is that the FBI director came out 11 days before the election and then 3 days before and also got involved. Do you feel the American people can have confidence in the FBI, which only belatedly 24 hours ago decided it agreed with the CIA's intelligence?
Well, I think it is no rational person, put partisanship aside, no rational person can say that considering the Russian hacking, considering Comey's announcement 11 days before the election, which he then retracted 2 days before the election, considering those things, that it didn't affect at least 1% of the voters in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Because if it affected 1% of the voters, then Hillary would have won the electoral vote as well. So there is a serious question. I bring that up again. I understand Trump is now legally going to be the president, but the legitimacy of that decision is going to be based now on what the FBI did, what the Russians did, what the honesty of this result is. Remember, almost 3 million more people voted for Hillary. That's 25 times a larger gap than Kennedy beat Nixon. It is about a 10 times greater gap than Nixon beat Humphrey. So this wasn't a nail-biter of election. The polls, as it turned out, nationally were correct. They said it'd be about 3%. It is 3%. Yeah. So we got to look at this question of legitimacy. Otherwise, anything Trump does that people aren't going to believe or support.
Yeah, and as you know, you are a great astute observer of politics. Because you are also in the reality TV business, I've got to get your response to this idea that Trump has said he will continue to executive produce a television show, that he'll continue to executive produce The Apprentice, presumably get paid for that. He's not telling us anything about his finances, his tax returns, whether he's going to be, you know, handing them off to his kids or whatever. He just isn't telling us. What do you make of that idea?
Well, I guess I'm running in 2020. I could still do my show. I could be president. Oh, wait, I can't be president. I was born in England. Okay.
I think that you can declare the law doesn't apply to you, and apparently that works.
I know. I mean, that is outrageous. It is stupid. Plus, I'll tell you where here the problem. Look, you and me, we both work, in a sense, for NBC.
Yeah.
There's a real question here that has to be brought into play. And the fact is, when NBC News, for example, wants to question or goes after Trump on some legitimate story, is there going to be pressure that says, hey, wait a second, he's one of our employees, we want his show to do well, we don't want to anger him? Or if Trump says, hey, I want more commercials run for my show, for The Apprentice, spend more money on promoting it, who's going to say no to the President of the United States? In other words, there's some real questions that we all have to be answering here.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a crazy situation. The whole